I say, what would happen if the boat sank from its weight and you're in the boat and you have this tremendously powerful battery and the battery's now underwater and there's a shark that's approximately 10 yards over there. By the way, a lot of shark attacks lately. Do you notice that? A lot of shark. I watched some guys justifying it today. I said, so there's a shark 10 yards away from the boat, 10 yards. Or here, do I get electrocuted if the boat is sinking, water goes over the battery, the boat is sinking? Do I stay on top of the boat and get electrocuted? Or do I jump over by the shark and not get electrocuted? I'll take electrocution every single time. I'm not getting near the shark. So we're going to end that. We're going to end it for boats.
If I would have said that with a group of friends at a coffee shop here in Brooklyn or in New York, they would be very worried about me. But that's the Republican presidential nominee thinking out loud. Do I jump over by the shark and not get electrocuted? Is this a sit-down old man moment? I mean, after all, Trump is 78 today, or is this a symptom of an unwell mind that we should be all worried about as a country? I mean, there is a relationship between buffoonery and dictatorship. I mean, just look at this video released by North Korea. It's Kim Jong-un just last month. In 2015, during Donald Trump's first presidential campaign, when pundits argued about Trump's fitness, The Daily Show's Trevor Noah said Trump sounded a lot like Ugandan dictator Idi Amin, who took power in a coup and had hundreds of thousands of people killed.
Once you realize that Trump is basically the perfect African president, you start to notice the similarities everywhere.
I say not in a braggadocious way. I've made billions and billions of dollars. I made a tremendous amount of money. I'm really rich. I have a great temperament. They love me anyway. I don't have to do this. I've done an amazing job. I was born with a certain intellect. God helped me by giving me a certain brain.
Idi Amin, former president and best president of Uganda.
The people like me very much. I am very popular. I am very powerful. I am the one who has got the money. I have got a very good brain.
And it's not just Idi Amin. Mussolini was widely portrayed as a buffoon while ruling fascist Italy. A second-rate dictator who was bumbling and ineffectual. He still killed thousands of people and stayed in power for 2 decades. So what to make of the Trump gibberish? Tom Nichols in The Atlantic writes, I'm not a psychiatrist and I'm not diagnosing Trump with anything. I am, however, a man who has lived on this earth for more than 60 years, and I know someone who has serious emotional problems when I see them played out in front of me over and over. The 45th president is a disturbed person. He cannot be trusted with any position of responsibility, and especially not with a nuclear arsenal of more than 1,500 weapons. One wrong move could lead to global incineration. Joining me now is Tom Nichols, a former professor at the U.S. Naval War College. He is a staff writer at The Atlantic, where he is the author of the Atlantic Daily newsletter, and Jennifer Rubin, a Washington Post opinion columnist and an MSNBC political analyst. It's good to have both of you with us. Tom, I'll start with you. There are two problems here, Trump's gibberish, as you call it, and the coverage of Trump's gibberish, as I was making light of earlier today with Alex. How do you present the sharks and electrocution, stupidity that we just saw there on evening or local news? How do you cover that so that when people in America see it, they're not laughing at it and just dismissing it like an old man who's gone senile, but the man who wants to have the codes to the nuclear weapons?
One thing is we have to start adding headlines that actually reflect reality instead of saying things like, Trump talks about, not taxing tips in Las Vegas. I think the real headline for that day is former commander-in-chief goes on mystifying rants about dying from sharks and electrocution. And what happens, I think, often in the media is that we all go through Trump's speeches and it's like a big bag of refrigerator magnets, that little game of words, and we kind of pick out the ones that make sense and then stick them back up so that they actually make sense in some way. This is really the problem with covering Trump in excerpts rather than just turning on the camera, showing people and letting them rip. Even with that whole shark digression, a lot of the printed excerpts from it, including mine, because, you just run out of space, only had little bits from it. And I think, you need to put it out there in a full paragraph and say, look, just read this and tell me if this is a person who ought to have control of nuclear weapons. This is a person probably shouldn't have control, of car keys.
Right.
And we just don't do that. I mean, I think it's that normalcy bias. Well, this is the Republican nominee. He obviously can't be that unhinged. So we have to find the one nugget of policy that he might have accidentally tripped over while he was talking and cover that somehow. And I think that's a disservice to the public.
Jennifer, why do you think Trump gets away with this? I mean, he lost the election, and yet he still gets a pass with behavior that is literally unthinkable for everyone else.
And just to follow up on Tom, it's not just that what he says, but he gets caught in these cul-de-sacs of speech. He has aphasia. He can't find a word, or he makes up a word, or he just says sounds to cover for his brain freeze. He is clearly unwell. And I think he gets away with it for a few reasons. One was what Tom just said, that the mainstream media has this normalcy bias and has this compulsion to present him as a normal candidate, just another choice. Joe Biden has certain deficits. Trump has certain deficits. It's just a normal election, you see. The other way he gets away with it, of course, is that he's got a whole cult party behind him that covers for him, that says that he sounds sane, that never admits it. When he went behind closed doors and he made the comment that Milwaukee is a horrible city, Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, was asked about it, and he said, oh, I was sitting next to him. I didn't hear anything. That's a lie. Of course he heard it. So he's got an entire party that marches behind him in synchronization. And finally, of course, they've created this right-wing media bubble that protects him, that dreams up really false narratives and completely false pictures. We just had this week of the New York Post and other right-wing media outlets trying to portray the president as kind of wandering around at the G7 when, in fact, he was going out to cheer on some parachute jumpers. So I think all these things combined give us the sense that, oh, he's just another guy. He's very amusing. And look at all these people who come out to cheer him. So I think it's very dangerous. And he is clearly disturbed. He has a broken brain. He cannot complete a thought. And it's not only that he says bizarre things, but he is incoherent.
And yet, to Jennifer's point, Tom, it is astonishing that Republicans who had a clear out from Trump on January 20th, 2021, they did not need to bring him back into the party, somehow resurrected him, and no more than Mitch McConnell. And again, we saw that this week. Why?
Because that's the easy way. Because Trump has a built-in number of votes and a base and an infrastructure. And rather than actually be responsible and patriotic members of a party who are going to win an election based on policies and positions and making arguments, they've said, this guy has a cult and it works for us. And, that's just easier. And why bother doing all this other heavy lifting when we can just walk out, and talk about space lasers and Venezuelan voting machines and, all this crazy stuff and get them and just vacuum the pockets of credulous people who will always respond to these appeals. Now, you'd think that after Trump has lost so many times and cost them so much over time that they might not want to go this road, this kind of lazy, irresponsible, and distinctly un-American road. But it's easy. And also, you always have to remember how afraid Republican elected officials are of their own voters. They are terrified of them. They're terrified that if they cross Trump and push him out of the way, that off-ramp wasn't as easy as it looks. They could have pushed him out of the way, but there would have been some blowback. And they're cowards. They just didn't want to risk it. So they took the easy road.
Yeah. Tom Nichols, Jennifer Rubin, always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
Grab him by the pussy.
The reviews are in.
You have to go by where. Look.
Here's what Trump's own people are saying about him. He's a f***ing moron. Rex Tillerson, Trump's Secretary of State.
We're lower than the world.
Lower than the world?
He tries to divide us. James Mattis, Trump's Secretary of Defense.
You had a group on one side and you had a group on the other. Very fine people on both sides.
He's an idiot. John Kelly, Trump's Chief of Staff.
They weren't laughing at me.
A professional liar. Gary Cohn, Trump's economic advisor.
There will be no lies.
He thinks he's God. Barbara Rez, SVP of Trump Organization.
I am the chosen one.
Like an 11-year-old child, Steve Bannon, Trump's advisor.
I don't take responsibility.
I think we need to look harder at who we elect.
I don't think he's fit for office.
I have the most loyal people.
Can America survive 4 more years? He's a f***ing moron. 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 Rex Tillerson, Trump's Secretary of State.